CTBK is more than just a full-service accounting firm. They are one team with an innovative approach to accounting and rise to each new challenge with collaborative problem-solving skills. CTBK goes above and beyond by lending helping hands in the Buffalo and Niagara community through volunteer work and donations, and is partnered up with Victory Sports for 2020 and 2021 to keep kids in the community active. The professionals at CTBK are determined to help individuals and businesses succeed. Whether a large corporation, a small business, or somewhere in between, call CTBK at 716-630-2400. Again, 716-630-2400, and see what CTBK's one-team approach can do for you. Welcome to another edition of Tim Graham and Friends, brought to you by CTBK, CPAs, and business consultants. I am Tim Graham of The Athletic, here with Matthew Fairburn, also of The Athletic. We haven't seen him in a few weeks. We can get into that if he chooses. It's his story to tell, not mine. But this is a long overdue guest joining Tim Graham and Friends, brought to you by CTBK. Contractually obligated to say that every time. Is Breyon Harris, one of the holy triumvirate of Bills Mafia creators. We can talk about that. That story's been told, but it's still such a great story. And the moment that really triggered that was such a big moment in my life, which I wrote about back in December, involving Stevie Johnson. But Breyon Harris, thanks for coming on the show. And I've been looking forward to this.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Where are you coming from right now?
Like, where do I currently live?
Yeah.
Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Okay, Virginia Beach.
Mm-hmm.
So you consume all your Bills content from afar. You are a voracious Bills fan. Every little thing you have an informed opinion on. It's really amazing. I think that it's one of the most entertaining Bills fan follows, period, but also pop culture observation, and a lot of it overlaps. But you being in Virginia Beach, not here in Western New York, how do you think that impacts your feel or your vibe when it comes to being a Bills fan, to be just a little detached from being surrounded by it all the time?
Yeah, I think the fact that I am detached is what forms my opinions and why I look at it the way I look at it sometimes, because I look at it from an outsider looking in, right? Even though, like, for, a long part of my life, all I knew was like Bills football, right? But I can't remember. It's always like little things people say to me. Like one time, somebody who knows me from here, right? It's like, all you tweet about is Bill stuff. And I'm like, all right, well, you got to give people who aren't Bills fans who know you something outside of just football, So I don't know.
What is it that has you most excited about the 2021 Bills?
Stephon Diggs, number one. But I guess the whole offense again, right? So just hoping they can do exactly what they did last year, or build on it. I don't want to say exactly because they didn't make the Super Bowl, but
Okay, now what has you most worried? I have a feeling this is going to be a longer answer.
That 2020 was a fluke. I guess that's what everybody else's concern is, really.
What have you? I'm curious with your perspective, having been there from literally the start of Bills Mafia and the start of Bills fans on the internet in a lot of ways, right? Because Twitter was sort of opened up a whole different world for all sports fans. But how have you seen the discussion or the fan base in general online evolve now that the team is good compared to back when everything started?
Well, back then when everything started, we sucked, right? So, I guess everything was like a community, I guess, right? And then, but at the same time, you saw glimpses of, like if a person on Twitter, says anything negative about the Bills, right? Like they're automatically like, oh, you're not a real Bills fan, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it's expanded, way beyond our beliefs now because, Twitter has gotten so big. But even back then, things were basically the same, but in a smaller microscope,
I'm thinking back, all the craziness too. I always felt that you feel the same about Bills fans that I do. Very admirable, very passionate, but there's plenty of eye rolling too. And when you mention, even a slight against the Bills, I'm thinking back of 2011, I think it was, when Tom Brady had a comment about the hotels in Buffalo, and everybody went ape shit. How can he say this about our hotels? And I was working news side for the Buffalo News at the time. I remember my editor coming over because I had a sports background. He said, would you do a story on Tom Brady, ripping the hotels? So I called up the guy who's in charge of the Buffalo Hotel Association or whatever, and he started laughing, and he says, he's right. The guy who's in charge of the association was like, hey, yeah, we're not that great.
The funny part is like I used to stay when I used to come up for the games, and I'm acting like I come up all the time, but at least the first 2 times I came up, I stayed in this shitty hotel not too far from the stadium. As a matter, I don't want to drop names, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't that far, and it was a piece of shit if we're being honest. So I definitely understand what he's talking about.
Yeah, all the nicest hotels weren't there in 2011. And it's not as if Buffalo is like a hotel mecca now, but like the Westin, the Marriott, even was the Courtyard even there downtown? I mean,
no, that's all relative. That's all new.
So even now it's okay. It's fine. There's some good options down there. All those places are nice. But those weren't even there. So it really, I don't even know what hotel the Patriots would have stayed in back then.
The Marriott out by UB was a big one. I interviewed Damian Woody for the story. He was saying that that's where they always stayed. And he was saying, yeah, you go to Buffalo, you can't leave your room. There's nothing to do. And then I think the Hyatt downtown was the other popular place. And that was it. And that hotel has been sold and bankruptcied 100 times. But so it is funny, Breyon, to see a lot of your comments, because you don't have a lot of patience for things that other fans really want to embrace and huddle over the fire and, commiserate about. And you're like, I don't, that's small time. It's inferiority complex. It's like, can we do a little bit better? And you've always pushed, let's think a little deeper.
Yeah. I think it gets people, it gets fans in trouble, to be honest with you, because now they get upset because people make comments about us being, the way we are. And, I don't know. I look at them and I'm like, some of the things that y'all say, like, I understand why people come up with that conclusion, because if I was not a Bills fan, I would definitely say the same thing that these people are saying. And it's embarrassing sometimes.
How do you see the evolution of Bills Mafia as an ethos, I guess, the way it started very organically? And if you want to maybe give us the Cliff's Notes version of how that started for those who may not know. And then it became a charitable thing. And now it is taken on, it's so far removed from what it started out as. And I want to hear what your feelings are about how it has grown into this thing that you probably couldn't have conceived of.
Well, first of all, it was always a charitable thing, if we're being honest. But so, for those who don't know, it all started with, Stevie Johnson drop, the, Adam Schefter retweet, a day later, and me, for those who didn't know me back then, I was always a troll guy, right? So I, got on Adam Schefter and, started tweeting Schefter breaking news. He starts, blocking me. He blocked Dell, blocked a couple other people. And then so, Dell started calling us, Bills Mafia, like the very next day. Because back then you used to do like follow trains and shit, which is, mad corny now. But They did it back then, and he did one Follow Friday, and he says Bills Mafia, and he puts a couple of us in a tweet, and I saw it, and I was like, holy shit! Like if players see this, they're gonna embrace it. Like football players, they're just I guess any athlete in any sport, they always want to feel tough, right? So especially football players. So I had a feeling like once they got a hold of the whole Bills Mafia thing, they would love it. And Tim remembers, I used to tweet all the time, like all the fucking time. Like a real story, I don't know if Tim remembers, but Tim used to follow me at one point, right? This is back in my old account.
I still do. I still do.
No, let me finish the story, right? So he unfollowed me, right? And I was a huge Tim Graham fan. Back he was AFC East blog on ESPN, right? He unfollowed me, right? Then a few months later, I must have said something about you stopped unfollowing me or whatever. And then he says, "You tweet too much." So he looked at my tweet count. He said, "Holy shit, 48,000 tweets. You tweet too much." But I'm gonna give it another whirl, and he followed me.
I do remember
again.
that now.
He's been attached ever since. But
I remember. I totally forgot. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I used to tweet all the time. Every chance I got, I was tweeting. Team Bills Mafia this, blah, blah, blah. And obviously, eventually, the players latched on. Stevie Johnson, obviously, he supported it. He DM'd me one day and was like, "Hey, y'all need to create a Bills Mafia Twitter account," because I guess he knew that it was gonna blow up, right? He wanted to make sure that the originators was getting the credit and was running it, right? So he DMs me and said, "Hey, create a Bills Mafia Twitter account, blah blah blah." So I instantly messaged Dell and was like, "Hey, listen, Stevie Johnson said create an account." So we create an account, he puts it up on his Twitter account, and I guess the rest is history. And literally, I want to say, 2 or 3 days into it, me, Dell, and Les was like, "Hey, listen, let's sell merchandise, but we're going to donate it to Roswell Park." So, and that was from the beginning. Like, we had no intentions on making any money, still don't, still haven't. So, that's how it started, really.
And it becomes such a cool thing to rally around because it was organic, because the team was against it. There was also kind of this rebel mentality to it. The team was always trying to shut this down, shut that down. You can't reference this. It was, everything was getting negotiated out. And that's what made it a little cooler. So back in, I think it was December, which I happened to be with Stevie Johnson the day that the announcement was made that the Bills and that were formally adopting Bills Mafia as a brand. And I was the one who told Stevie about it, and I used it in my story. He said, "Oh, wow, that's really cool." And then he stopped and he stared off into space and he goes, "Wait a minute." Like he dawned on him, was like, "Wait a minute, this maybe isn't cool. It's now become corporate." So what's been your take on this transformation of organic fan support system among yourselves to the team taking it over?
I'm fine with it. Honestly, like, if anybody knows me, I've usually always been, just do my Twitter thing, right? Like all that other extra official shit, because I was, like, I'm in Virginia Beach, so there's really not much I could do, so I was always a Twitter guy. So, I wasn't really hands-on with the business, I guess, if there was a business side. I wasn't really involved with that too much, but at the same time, it was great. Like, I think that was maybe, I don't want to say our goal, but, we did want the team to embrace it, right? We didn't make any money off of it. We don't make money off of it. Our the entire time we were like, I don't know why they wouldn't, right? It's not like we're trying to make a profit off of something. We're literally raising money for charity. So I don't understand what the pushback was. So I don't know.
I think it was mostly the mafia imagery, right? Just the idea of the word mafia kind of stuck with them, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it was as well. Yeah.
And Bills. I know that they were also upset just that you were using, because you're not supposed to use Bills at all. They wanted to be protective of that. And I would hear all the time about the squabbles going on about a shirt that came out that they said, no, you can't do that. And, just the back and forth was always fascinating to me. And now here they've come full circle and are now embracing it and selling their own Bills Mafia stuff. They use the Bills Mafia as their hashtag for their official Twitter emblem. And anyways, tell me where you are with the Bills now, after 17 years of no playoffs, going through that darkness, being so emotionally invested in the team, not just as a fan, but Bills Mafia. You were more invested than most. You were not a passive fan. You were, as you said, all the tweets, all the campaigning, all the support, all the trying to pull each other through the depression. And now you finally get to bask in the sun a little bit. How's that feel?
It feels good, to be honest with you. Like, I think, like you said, all those years wondering, like, would we ever be good? And what would we do once we're good, right? So I think that's probably like the other part of like Bills Mafia is that we suck so bad that we had to support them so strongly, So, and then it's like, well, now that we're good, what do we do now? So I don't know.
So what's your gauge on fans now and how, they've jumped on, this is a big discussion we could have. We end up talking about the fans a lot on this podcast, as you know. There does seem to be a lack of, let's just say they have short memories, I think, to go from what you just said, we may never be good again, to fuck the world. Nobody can touch us. And I understand you get there because you want to make up for all that lost time and you want to be able to enjoy the moment. But it seems like, shouldn't there be at least a little humility regarding the fact that it wasn't that long ago? Shouldn't you remember the bad times a little bit?
Yeah. And that's literally where I'm at, right? Like, for some wild ass reason, they really think that NFL history and Buffalo Bills history starts at September 2020, right? So for some strange reason, they forget 2019, they forget 2018, 2017, and beyond, so on and so forth. They forget how they used to act on Twitter during those times and the things that they would say on Twitter during those times, which is why me and I guess Bills fans always go back and forth, because I'm trying to figure out, like, this isn't like the energy that y'all have now towards things is not the same energy that y'all had back then. And the stuff that y'all were saying back then, it's not adding up. Like, I'm doing the math and it's not adding up. So
how does that impact how you root for this team? Because, back then it was like everybody's in this shared struggle, right? You're not, there's not going to be huge disagreements among the fan base because the team sucked and everybody knew, and everybody was kind of sharing in it together and pouring all their fandom in. Now I see you and a handful of others do push back against the Homer mob on Twitter, and it's hard to push back against that group of people. But how does it kind of impact how you root for the team now? Do you ever have to like detach yourself from it on Sundays just to remind yourself that this is your team and, the Twitter arguments, you can put them aside?
Well, so I can't remember who I was telling, but after games, whether it's a win or a loss, or maybe it's just the losses. After losses, I'm never on Twitter anymore, right? Like, we remember every loss, it was a shit show on Twitter, right? So now I'm never on there after a loss. Like, I take a step back and I look at what happened and I try to look at the big picture, right? Which is kind of what I did this offseason, which is why we see these battles with me and everybody else. Is I've took a step back and I've looked at the season in totality, right? I looked at Josh Allen in totality, right? And I've come up with this idea that he's not what people think that he is, right? Like, I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback, but to pretend like 2019 didn't happen and 2018 didn't happen is kind of wild, right? And then they pretend like for some reason, like at the end of 2020, right, everybody was like, oh, look at this jump Josh made, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Everybody was on the same page with 2019 not being good. Now, all of a sudden, people are changing the goalposts when they hear people say, oh, well, Josh only had one good season. Now, all of a sudden, 2019 wasn't that bad, right? When in reality, it was. So, I mean, I don't know if I detach from the team because I'm still, I don't let Twitter dictate how I root for the team, I guess, if that makes sense, because I already know they're crazy, right? And you know, so I think that's what makes me who I am, is because I understand, like, they're crazy. I know I'm a Bills fan. I know I'm a huge Josh Allen fan. I know I'm a huge Stephon Diggs fan. Doesn't matter what I say, right? I can look at something objectively and still love it. You know what I'm saying? And apparently other people can't do that.
Yeah, that is a great point with Josh Allen, because heading into last season, the clear-cut storylines, there were two of them. It was the Bills are pretty good. Tom Brady's out of the division. Therefore, the Bills should make the playoffs. They need to win a game.
Right.
And that will be a successful season. And the other storyline was, we're still not sure about Josh Allen. He's got to prove it.
Right.
And now he did prove it. I mean, he at least had a great season. But now people want to look back and say, we knew it all along.
Right.
We knew he had it. And
shit.
this is a Super Bowl contender. It's not just about winning one playoff game. It's, this team's ready to contend right now. And I think that's true. Although I don't think that they got appreciably better, and they needed to close a big gap between themselves and the Chiefs. And the Chiefs seem to have gotten better. Mm-hmm. They made some free agent signings, especially some moves along the offensive line to get better. So, yeah, I get that. Where are you with the Bills as Super Bowl contenders? Are you ready to get there?
I don't know. Like, there's always the Chiefs, right? But anything can happen, I guess. I could say, like, the Browns should have beat the Chiefs, right? If that happens, I guarantee the Bills go to the Super Bowl, right? So anything can happen in the NFL. But if you want me to say, do I think they can beat the Chiefs? No, right? And there's also a lot of people on Twitter that will be like, I saw this tweet that went out that said, who's Patrick Mahomes' biggest rival? Of course, every fucking Bills fan goes, oh, it's Josh Allen. Nah, it's really not. Right, so cut it out. So the Chiefs are good, right? The Chargers, Justin Herbert had a pretty good rookie season. Like he was good. So the Chargers could be good, right? I can't really. David Carr is pretty good. Who knows? I mean, John Gruden fucked that all up, but so maybe the Raiders. Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, obviously, if they get their shit together, right? Like, Ravens fans are happy because they got Sammy Watkins, but is he going to be healthy all year? Right? I guess that's the question. Ben Roethlisberger's shot, so who knows what there.
The Patriots could win with their defense.
Right, and they could. And I think, Bills fans are overlooking the fact that there's still Bill Belichick over there, right? Like, they're getting their defense back, which was what? They was top 5, top 1, or they were number 1 defense in 2019 or whatever. They, like, if you think that Bill Belichick is going to let us sweep them again, like, you're crazy, right? They're sleeping on the Dolphins, right? Like, if what's their quarterback, Tua? I'm not even gonna pretend to say his last name, but if he is all right, then they got a pretty good team up there. So I mean down there. So for them to think that 2020 is an indication of what 2021 is going to be, like, teams don't get better, like they're crazy.
I think
I want
it's
to get
good,
into. Go
good
ahead, Matthew.
Twitter perspective you have. The fact that you're able to kind of be in that world, but pull yourself away from it and root for. You're just rooting for the team and blasting your thoughts into Twitter and letting whatever happened. Like it seems like to me, not a lot of people do that. It's like I sometimes am scrolling through Twitter. Like I have a hard time tweeting a lot during a game, and also like staying into the flow of the game. Some people, it's like I look at my timeline, I'm like, man, are these people watching the TV at all? I mean, football's set up that way so you can kind of have your thoughts and fire them out in between plays. But I don't know. I think it's a healthy attitude you have. I'm curious. And I think I missed this because I followed both accounts. What happened to your first account? Like, what is your Twitter
Great
journey here?
question. Great question.
And I think it took me a little while to find your second one because I remember I would always go to it and be like, "What the hell's up with this account? Like, what happened?"
Yeah. So back then, and I hate the fact that it's suspended because there's a lot of new people on Twitter, right? That act like I'm just some new guy on the block when I've literally been on this bitch for like over 10 years, So, and I've literally seen like Bill's Twitter from its infancy grow to what it is now, right? Like I'm not brand new. Anyway, sorry. So back then, as y'all know, I used to use videos for my memes and shit all the time. So I guess these record companies don't like that, right? So they would send me emails like, hey, this company wants you to, whatever. My shit got suspended a couple of times. And then, I would get the emails and then they would, disable the videos or whatever. And then eventually at that point, I was too far deep in the game for me to go back and start deleting videos from tweets. And that's just what happened. I ended up suspending it forever. So that's what happened.
You just let them foreclose on the house, right?
Yeah.
You just moved out.
Yeah, basically.
Move into a new house.
Yeah.
You have some controversial takes that have nothing to do with copyrighted music or videos. Let's go down a few of them because one of my favorite things about Bree and his tweets is that I'll come across something that on the surface I disagree with, and I'm like, what? And then I stop and I'm like, yeah, I think he might be right. Because it catches you. You get lulled into certain thoughts sometimes, and you are one that fights against groupthink. And that's you have a bit of a challenge, an aspect of you where you like to challenge thought. And one of the widely accepted facts, I'm using finger quotes, facts in Bills history is that Fred Jackson's a legend. And he's going to be on the Wall of Fame someday. Your thought?
So every controversial thought that I have, and I say controversial because it's really not, right? But I say it like if I ever get into one of these kind of things, more than likely I'm already prepared, right? Like there's no way I'm going in any fight like this unprepared, because then you look stupid, right? So anyways, and I also have to preface everything by saying I'm a huge Fred Jackson fan, was a huge Fred Jackson fan. He's a great person, right? And I don't know if I've told anybody this story. I told it on a podcast one time, I think, or I talked to a couple people, but I met Fred Jackson in an airport one time and was starstruck. I'm talking like I could barely talk. And you can tell that he knew I didn't know what to do when I meet a professional athlete because he kind of got me on how to be a fucking fan, right? So he's like, hey, do you want to pick? Because all I did was say, hey, are you Fred Jackson? And he's like, yeah. And then I introduced myself as my fucking Twitter handle, right? So then I'm like, then I want to walk off and he's like, hey, do you want a picture? I'm like, oh shit, yeah, can I get a picture? Right? And I'm about to walk off again and he goes, do you want me to sign something? So like it was like the coolest shit. Like it was really great. So I loved Fred Jackson. However, right, he's not one of the greatest running backs that this team has, right? You've seen CJ Spiller. CJ Spiller's won 1,200 whatever yard season, better than any Fred Jackson season.
The Bills are pretty stacked when it comes to its running back history.
Right.
Maybe
right.
It's an argument of maybe the deepest running back talent of any team in NFL history.
Right. And so for you to see all those running backs before Fred, and then I actually think you can put Fred in that same breath as them is fucking beyond me. Like I have no idea how you can come to that conclusion. But the argument from other people is, oh, well, it's what the wall means to you, right? So I'm like, all right, I understand that argument, but if you're going to tell me that you have a bunch of Hall of Famers and or very good players on that wall, and then you want to run Fred Jackson up there because he was a good person or he was a small bright spot during the drought, that's fine, maybe, if that's what you want to go with. But for you to say, oh, yeah, he's one of the greatest running backs we've ever had, or he was the best player during the drought, okay, that's a fucking lie. Like, he was not the best player during the drought, right? There's no way. He has no Pro Bowls. His only great season was that one season he played in 10 games and had like 90-something yards per game. Outside of that, he did not have any good seasons.
Who do you think was the best player during the drought?
Kyle Williams.
Yeah. Same here. I think that's a fairly easy choice, unless you want to go with somebody who just was passing through,
Mhm.
you know, a Takeo Spikes, London Fletcher, but Kyle Williams was good and had longevity, having never played a down for any other team.
I mean, I had Bird up there. People forget how good Bird was, right? People forget how great of a returner Terrence McGee was. If we're talking like dominant at that position, like Terrence McGee definitely was on that list. Roscoe Parrish as a punt returner, he was good. He was dominant at his position. I mean, we're talking about players that were actually dominant in their position during the drought. And now you want to talk about Fred Jackson, who literally the only reason why he's number 3 is because he outlasted Marshawn Lynch. He outlasted, CJ Spiller. He was never better than any of those running backs.
If you need a sentimental pick for the wall from the drought era, I feel like Kyle Williams checks all those boxes you talk about with Fred, but also went to Pro Bowls, was a guy that, was at one point, one of the top 10 players at his position, was very good, and checks all those sentimental boxes.
He's like an all-pro. He was like a second-team all-pro probably 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, he was a great player and a great guy, and a guy that had the longevity throughout the drought. The whole 5th-round pick to superstar, Odyssey story is one that people latch on to.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said,
although Fred's origin story is pretty tough to beat.
Absolutely
Division 3 didn't even start for his high school team. Division 3, arena minor leagues, not even the arena league, but the arena minor leagues. If he doesn't go to co-college, Marv Levy doesn't extend him a chance to come and then try out for the team, and just the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a story, and there are other great stories too of guys who have. So you can't use that as your qualifier either. There are some other amazing stories of guys who survived. I
guess the question is, how many guys from that era need to be up there? Is it? I've never been on the selection committee. I don't know that there even is one anymore, or how.
I don't know either, and I think I'm on it. Yeah, I think we haven't had a meeting in years.
I mean,
I don't know, how this all happens, but I don't know how many you need from what is, undisputably the worst stretch of football this franchise has played.
Right.
Where are we with Brian Moorman as on the Wall of Fame?
Well, and that's the other thing. Like, I mean, I know people don't like special teams players, but if we're talking about, again, like a dominant player at their position, I guess he qualifies, right? So, but do you want to put a punter up there? But you have to if you're stomping your foot for fucking Steve Tasker to make the Hall of Fame, right? So,
well, Steve Christie is not on the Wall of Fame. I just double checked because I wasn't quite sure, but I just had to double check. Steve Christie not on the Wall of Fame.
Tyler Bass up there yet?
I'm sorry?
Tyler Bass up there?
Tyler Bass will be by at least like 2023. He'll be up there while active, I'm sure.
absolutely.
Brian Moorman, yeah, I am not going to dismiss out of hand that a kicker or a punter should not be on the Wall of Fame. If there's a punter in the Hall of Fame, which was long overdue when Ray Guy got in, there should be, those players should be represented on the Wall of Fame. I have no problem with Brian Moorman on the Wall of Fame. And he was the best at his position here and there throughout the course of the drought. The great joke, running joke, he was always the highest rated Bill on Madden.
Yeah.
You'd have, whatever. He was a good guy. I mean, he did good things too.
Still is a good guy.
What?
He still is a good guy.
Yes, right. I don't want to say he was. I'm sure he is. We ran into him at the airport a couple seasons ago. He actually gave me a quote for a story I was working on while we were walking to the ground transportation shuttle. Tyrod Taylor. Give give me your appreciation of Tyrod Taylor. Why do you think he is viewed the way he is in Buffalo? Or not even in Buffalo. It seems like everywhere he goes, he gets written off and overlooked.
Because Tyrod is he's a journeyman quarterback, right? Like, and that's the other thing, like the huge issue that I have with Bills fans, right, is, again, I remember vividly, right, like the drought era and who you celebrated as a player, right? And so when I see who we celebrated as a player, right, and then we get to Rod, and he's not celebrated in that same light, now I have questions, right?
The underdog, right? The guy who's the scrappy guy nobody took seriously.
Right.
Right.
He's like he was what, a 6th-round draft pick that sat behind Joe Flacco for years. Finally gets his shot, right? He makes the Pro Bowl that year. I mean, granted, you want to say alternate, all right, fuck it. We celebrated alternate as Pro Bowls before, like cut the shit, right? So, I mean, we literally look at the alternates, right? And then look at which Patriots player is on that fucking list, because we know they're going to the Super Bowl, so our alternate can get in, so we can brag about who's in the Pro Bowl, right? So you can cut it out with that, right? So he makes the Pro Bowl his first year and was actually pretty decent, right? Nobody's saying he was great, but he was pretty decent, right? Following season, probably about the same, right? Even though we lost Sammy Watkins for half the season, no Robert Woods for probably 4 or 5 games, no Chris Hogan, right? So he was all right. And then we get to 2017 where he has nobody, right? And then I see what they're saying about Josh Allen, right? Every time we talk about Josh Allen's rookie season, what's the first thing people talk about? Oh, he didn't have shit for weapons, blah, 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 blah. What the fuck did Tyrod have? Tyrod. What did he have in 2017? His team, his weapons were worse than Josh Allen's rookie season. You know what I'm saying? But nobody's talking about that. And all you hear is, oh, well, Andy Dalton, which is such a fucking bullshit. Like, I hate when they say that. Andy Dalton is the one that led us to the playoffs. Okay, that's bullshit. Then I'll say, oh, well, LaShawn McCoy is the one that led us to the playoffs. Okay, that's literally the only weapon that we had. But everybody knows that in the NFL, whether fair or unfair, the quarterback gets the praise, right? So if that's what we're going with, you can't say that he didn't lead us to the playoffs, right? Like, you literally can't say that. If that's the standard that we're saying, if Josh goes to every playoff, which again, and then 2019, Josh Allen has number 2 defense in the league, right? Goes to the playoffs. Nobody's saying, oh, he rode the defenses back, which is what they started to say at first with during 2017, right? Which that defense was shit. Like, if you go look at the stats, that defense of 2017 was shit. The defense of 2019 was good, right? So every excuse that they have for 2017, right, is bullshit. And they just keep moving the goalposts every time I knock them down, if we're being honest.
I think it's a good frame for the Tyrod conversation is that the way you put it, that think of all the guys that have been celebrated during that era of football.
Right.
Some who were not very good, or some who people just latched on to because they were good guys or had a good story or whatever.
A scrappy undrafted guy. David Nelson was a hero for 2 seasons. Right. Naaman Roosevelt played, you'd think he played 50 games. He probably played 5. Mm-hmm. Donald Jones. I mean, there were these guys that were just revered because they came out of nowhere and they came together. And
and it was part of what made, made the fan base what it was at that time, when there were certain guys that you would latch on to and still remember and celebrate. And then you get to a guy, it seems like every time, do we know if it's pronounced Tyrod or Tyrod, or are we being
He says
silly?
It's Tyrod.
Yeah.
If he's going to go, then we'll say Tyrod. But then to get to Tyrod, and, I think every time he gets brought up, people get defensive about Josh Allen, which is really unnecessary. The team admitted at the end of his tenure that he wasn't good enough, traded him for a 3rd-round pick, which was a good haul. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anybody would disagree with, okay, this guy was good, got the team to the playoffs, but they're looking for that true franchise quarterback, and they're, going to get some resources back and try to find that true franchise quarterback. But it is odd that all these guys that got celebrated during the drought, the guy who ended it, played a huge part in ending it, is just like, well, like he's an afterthought. It's very strange, especially when he had every reason to torpedo that season when he got benched for Nathan Peterman. He could have gone into the tank and said, screw this team. They benched me for that guy. But he kept his mouth shut, came back the next week, and, kept the season together. So odd that he's found, I think the fact that he's bounced around the league and had trouble sticking as a starter, says that he's not that no doubt franchise guy, but he is the quintessential, like, plucky underdog, fun, right? He's fun to watch. He got a little less fun to watch toward the end, a little bit more
Doesn't turn the ball
conservative,
over. He didn't throw interceptions, didn't fumble.
hard worker, quiet, does everything.
You know who did and who celebrated at every turn?
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ryan Fitzpatrick. And he's been on the fucking Titans. He's been on the Jets. He's been on the Bucks. He's been on the Dolphins. Now he's with the Redskins. Fuck out of here with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he literally, and he sucked. Like, he sucked. He led the league in interceptions one year, right? And he was just garbage. Like, people forget how trash he was. And, fuck Twitter polls, right? But there was that Twitter poll out where who was the best player during the drought? And Tyrod and Ryan Fitzpatrick went head to head, and guess who won? Fitzpatrick. Like, that's bullshit, right? And so when people try to get on me for, oh, you hate Josh Allen because that's not even it, right? Like, when Tyrod got traded, I was happy, right? Like, I was ready to move on, right? Didn't go off the wall on Twitter, didn't say anything. Like, I was fine with moving on. When we drafted Josh Allen, I didn't say shit because whatever. I don't know. Nobody knows. The whole thing on Twitter was he's just a strong arm with no accuracy, right? People were legit pissed when we drafted Josh Allen. I wasn't, because I don't know. Nobody really fucking knows, right? So 2018 happens. He was trash. 2019 happens. Meh, right? So I don't understand why people start getting pissed at me for bringing up, well, what y'all saying about Josh is not the same thing y'all saying about Tyrod, when they were both about the same or played the same for those first 2 years in Josh's career.
What's your level of concern, Bree, with the vaccination talk going on with the Bills? And it seems as though at least Cole Beasley's insistence that this will be a hill he dies on, perhaps literally, and all the other little things that we see, Jordan Poyer, Isaiah McKenzie with a like or a 100 response, John Feliciano. I think we can probably guess that Josh Allen, or at least he's choosing not to help by saying what could be said, even though he is a paid endorser of Oshai Children's Hospital. Where are you with this as a real potential issue, as opposed to just something that we're talking about in July because training camp hasn't started yet?
As far as it being an issue, I'm just assuming that it will be based off of, what people are saying about it.
You're assuming it will be?
For the players, if like players like Cole Beasley are, and players that are supporting him, right? Like, if they feel like, he's right and we're not going to get vaccinated or whatever, I guess according to, whatever the NFL rules are, like, people who don't reach that threshold aren't allowed to do certain things, right? Which, I guess they can look back and say 2020, we had these restrictions and look what happened. But at the same time, there is an advantage to it, right? Which is, I guess, what people are preaching. Like, there's an advantage to it. So if there's an advantage to getting vaccinated, then that's fine. Like, I would support that, right? Like, in real life, I don't really care. I don't want to say I don't care, but to a degree, I don't really care what they do, right? Because it has nothing to do with me in my head, right? Like, for being honest, I don't follow any of those players on Twitter. Like, I don't care what celebrities and or athletes do with their personal time, for being honest. And I think that's maybe the difference between me and a lot of Bills fans, because, they follow them all and they follow their life. So now they care a lot more or whatever. That has nothing to do with me, right? What they do don't make me shit. You know what I'm saying? Or what they eat don't make me shit, right? So I really don't care. But if there's an advantage to getting vaccinated, then I think they should take advantage of it, right?
Yeah, but you're emotionally invested in this team. And if in week 4 or whenever, maybe it even happens in the playoffs, somebody comes up positive and can't play because they decided not to get the vaccine, then then that hurts everybody. It hurts the teammates, it hurts the fans, it hurts the potential of your joy. Who knows?
It happened with Chris Paul in the finals, right? Like he gets COVID and he misses a game or two, right? So I mean, you're right, and I mean we're talking about the NBA, which has 7-game series, right? So you're right. Like if Josh, God forbid, Josh gets COVID, or playing the Chiefs or some shit, right? And now what are they gonna say?
Yes. Probably the most controversial take though that you have on Twitter is that blue cheese isn't all that, which I agree. And this is where I wish Jonah Bronstein was on here with us. The idea that you can put whatever you want on the wing before it's served to you. All the different sauces that you could have, the dry rub, extra saucy, combining sauces, inventing sauces, the Scoville scale and all the different things you can put on there. But you're only allowed to dip it in one thing. What's up with that?
Yeah, here's the wild part, right? Like I'm from Buffalo, right? So I moved here in like 99, right? I was like 11. So I guess people can do the math for how old I am. But so obviously back then you used to always dip it in blue cheese, right? When you get down here, it's ranch, right? So to me, it don't really matter, right? Like I'm not understanding why, people are coming out with their pitchforks and, and ready to fight over a fucking dipping sauce.
Right.
These are the people.
You can't be my friend if you use ranch.
Right.
And then the latest controversy is with Stephon Diggs saying that it's not pop, it's soda. Another one I agree with.
That's another thing. Like when I was in Buffalo, it was pop. When I came down here, it was soda, right? So I go back and forth. Like if I'm not thinking about it, I'll say pop. If I'm thinking about it, I'll say soda because people will look at me like I'm crazy, right? But then I'll explain to them, oh yeah, up in Buffalo we called it pop. Or I ask somebody, hey, where are you from? And they'll say like Pittsburgh, or they'll say up north and they'll say pop. But like, who cares, right? Like I don't understand like why the fuck, like they literally like what was it, Sanders, the last time we had a revolt against the fucking dip, right? So it's a serious thing. Like last time I went to Buffalo, maybe was it the last time? No, it's probably the time before then when they did that whole Meet the Mafia thing on WGRZ, right? And they had me up there with it was me and Les. We did ours with Josh Robinson, I think his name was. But anyways, we go to Gabriel's Gate or whatever, and I must have got ranch, and then all of them were like, oh my god, you can't get ranch, blah blah blah. So.
And then did they drive you to the edge of Erie County and tell you to get out of the car, find your way back home to Virginia Beach?
Yeah, they kicked me out, and
Right.
they made me pay for everybody's food and shit, and everybody ordered extra blue cheese, so I have to pay for that too and shit. So.
Well, how about I wonder if Western New Yorkers are not, or if they've withdrawn their auto coverage from State Farm, because if you notice the Jake from State Farm commercial, when the pizza delivery woman shows up, she gives him a gallon of dipping sauce. It's ranch. So
ranch is good on pizza too.
Wings.
Right. She gives them pizza, wings, and a gallon of ranch. So you're going to have to go with the general.
They probably don't know, but now that you said it, they're going to be up.
They'll notice.
Yeah, they're on it. They don't miss a beat
until Josh Allen gets a State Farm endorsement, like the other quarterbacks, and then they'll be right back on board.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you think would happen if Josh Allen came out and said the only way to eat wings is with ranch?
They're moving to ranch.
I think
he would never dare.
He's a
toes the company line. He knows he's got his. It's not that hard to figure out. I was framing it as if Josh Allen is a very savvy speaker and a guy that really knows how to, portray his image, but it's really not that hard. Talk about blue cheese,
Right.
wear a Sabres jersey, maybe
Talk
a
about
Braves
the
hat.
only football team in New York. You
Yeah.
know how to do it, right? So
Right.
that's the funny thing about Bill's Twitter is they'll tell me, oh, you're making these arguments for clout. I'm like, bro, it's not that hard to get fucking clout on Bill's Twitter. Like, you know what the fuck to do. Like, cut it out.
Make a Logan Berry reference and, in a press conference.
Here's
all
a
kinds of
question.
shit.
You say all your controversial takes, before you bring them to Twitter, they've been researched, they've been workshopped. You don't go into a fight without, ready to roll. So I'm curious if you have any that you've been workshopping, some that you've been researching that you can, give us a sneak preview here of what you might set Twitter on fire with next.
Well, I kind of teased it before, and they're probably tired of my shit already, but the whole 2019 Josh versus 2017 Tyrod Taylor, like I said, like the point is Tyrod was a better quarterback that year than Josh was in 2019, based off of who he had surrounding him at the wide receiver position, even his front line, the defense that he had, right? And Tyrod was rated higher QBR, quarterback rating. He wasn't that far off in yards per game. Like, people don't, but then when you say it, right, they're like, oh no, that's not true, blah, blah, blah. You hate Josh, yada, yada, yada. No, it's not really true.
Well, Bree, this has been a lot of fun. Anything that you want to add that we didn't talk about? Any things you want to roll out?
Well, Josh Allen isn't a top 5 quarterback. That was the other thing, right? Like, people, like earlier during the season, people were like, oh, he's not better than Deshaun, or he's better than Deshaun Watson. That's not fucking true, right? Like, you can tell, like, people don't do their research when they say shit like that, right? Like, Deshaun Watson loses Hopkins, right? And has the best season of his career, right? But you'll hear people say, oh, well, Deshaun Watson hit his ceiling. How the fuck he hit his ceiling if he just had a career year losing Hopkins? It just doesn't make sense to me, the things that they say. Like, Josh is ascending, but every other quarterback has hit their ceiling. This shit don't make no sense, right? Like, it's the wildest. It's literally the wildest shit. You can tell people just don't know. Like, all they do is watch Bills football all the time, and then they watch primetime games, and then they think, oh, wow, I got my hands, or I know the league, right? You really don't if you think Watson has hit his ceiling or Watson isn't better than Josh Allen. It's wild.
Is there a Twitter take that upsets you more than any other?
The Tyrod one, because there is a racial reason as to why people do it, right? And when I said it before, when I put that tweet out, and I want to say, Matt, and you retweeted it, everybody's on the same page. And nobody's dumb to the fact that there's a racial aspect to the Tyrod hate, right? But then when people try to tell me that I'm racist for saying that, or that I'm racist because all of a sudden I don't like Josh, or I don't like Josh, or whatever, because I say things like Tyrod should get more respect based off of who y'all celebrated in the past, and he's the one that ended the drought, right? But then when you call me a racist for saying it literally bothers me, right? Because I'm not, right? And then, but I've been on Twitter long enough to understand how it works and how people do things and these narratives that they create based off of, whatever they create. But that one is the one that bothers me the most.
So anytime you want to get something off your chest, Bree, you have an open invitation to come on Tim Graham and Friends, brought to you by CTBK. And we'll talk through this. You're the voice of the fan. You are, you want to say maybe no fan is more powerful or influential than another. I disagree. You are at the top of the list. The holy triumvirate of Bills Mafia creators with Dell and Leslie. You've been there since the beginning. You're on your second Twitter account. You workshop what you tweet. People don't do that unless they deserve respect. And you're the man.
I disagree, and the reason why is because you know these Twitter personalities, right? And they think they're better than other fans because they are who they are. They do certain things, right? And I don't like it. I've always stated that every fan is the same, right? Just because I don't do this or I don't do that does not mean I'm a better fan, or if I do this means I'm a better fan. I'm just a regular guy.
Are you a better fan than Mark Miller?
Well, apparently,
are you or are you not a better fan, a better fan than Mark Miller? Answer the question.
Well, he has a legendary interview, so no, he's probably a better fan than me.
No, come on, you just weaseled out of that. When you know you're a better fan than Mark Miller.
Here's the deal: anybody who's not on Twitter would not know who the fuck I am, right? But they remember Mark Miller's TV commercial, right? And the same thing.
Maybe
like,
so.
What was his issue? Didn't he like? I told somebody, I think it was Ty Dunn, right? So people don't remember, and I like toot my own horn, but I did bring that man to Twitter, right? Like I put his interview on Twitter, and that shit blew up, right? Then next thing you know, he's on Twitter because his shit blew up, right?
People are trying to find him. He comes out of hiding.
Right. And then he starts selling shit and selling appearances and shit. Like, fuck out of here, bro. Like, so maybe I should switch my answer. Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. That's just my way of poking a hole in your argument that you're all the same. You're not all the same.
Yeah, but I guess the man got to eat, so whatever.
You just don't want to claim it. You don't want somebody. So it's okay. I will say I am stating that you are at the top of the utmost upper echelon of Bills fan. You are at the top. You are the tip of the spear. Whereas you can then say, Tim, you're wrong. And you can be deferential and show some humility. But I've said what I've said.
Well, I appreciate it. But yeah, you are wrong because it opens doors for everybody to feel like, oh, because I do this or because I create this or whatever, or because I have this podcast, I'm a better fan than the next person, which is not true at all, which is the other thing that probably bothers me is that people with these, and I understand because, again, everybody who's on Bills Twitter knows how it works, right? Like if you say positive things about the Bills, your shit'll go up, right? So when I say these things and then people start jumping in my mentions defending what I've said, when it's not really, again, like it's not really a controversial statement, right? You're playing to your fan base, which is fine. Like you got to eat, you got a podcast, or you got this going on, or you're a content creator, or you whatever the fuck. That's fine. Like you need to play to the fan base. I get it, right? But you should probably stay out this argument because I'm not in it for followers. I don't give a shit, right? So, but whatever.
Breyon Harris from Virginia Beach coming after us.
Once unfollowed by Tim Graham, but vindicated.
And I stopped tweeting as much. So yeah, as you can tell, I go on these rants and you don't see me for 4 or 5 days because I can't lose that follow again, man.
Well, I missed out on the suspension. I just assumed I was following you. And then one day, I don't know, maybe it was a year or so ago, we had a conversation where somebody retweeted you. And I said, wait a minute, retweeted me. I'm supposed to be seeing this. And I didn't realize that you had to flip over to a secondary account because you're on the lam.
I wasn't coming back either, if we're being honest. So it just, not to get too personal, but I lost my mom in April, right? But this was after this January was like Kobe's death, right? Which was tough on me. And then probably it wasn't too soon after that my Twitter account got suspended, right? And then my mom passed in April. So I was like, fuck it, I'm not coming back. I've done everything that I want to do on Twitter. There's nothing I could do more, right? Like I've been viral. I've been on the Bills Twitter. I've been on the Bills website, not all of my memes, but I've got pretty decent amount of memes that went viral, right? So there's really nothing else that you can do on there. But, Dell and Les kept talking me back into, you gotta come back, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, all right. I think it was like April Fool's I think I put out a tweet to make it pretend like I was back, but I wasn't back then. It was April Fool's or whatever. And I was like, all right, fuck it. I guess I'll just come back for good.
Well, I'm glad you came back.
Appreciate it.
You make my day better when I see you on there mixing it up in a thoughtful, provocative way.
Appreciate it.
And thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming on Tim Graham and Friends, brought to you by CTBK. And I hope we get to do it again.
Anytime. I'm available anytime. I'm gonna pretend like I do a lot of shit, but I really don't. So I'm always available.
Breyon Harris, everybody. Thanks for doing it.
Appreciate it.
The financial needs of a business go beyond tax and attest services. That's why CTBK goes beyond accounting services and offers outsourced solutions through their affiliation with CFO Solutions Plus. These additional services allow clients to focus on their operational and long-term strategic goals. Trust CTBK's outsourced solutions to provide cost-effective, value-added financial services tailored to your company's needs. Call CTBK at 716-630-2400. Again, 716-630-2400. Or go to ctbk.com to learn more about CTBK's outsourced solutions.